tuve una caída en mi carrera, pero he vuelto más fuerte que nunca.
Pero ojo con Supa, va a reventar a Marlon. Se atreve ahora con el 1 contra FLICKR. No debería de ganar el tetón.
J'ai progressé une étape à la fois jusqu'à arriver au sommet.
Il y a Venour qui est dans la mêlée et la côte de roquette, elle est magnifique du côté de l'ADC.
Ich weiß, ich kann der Beste sein, jetzt muss ich es nur allen zeigen.
선택할 수 있는 길이 많았습니다. 저는 지금 걷고 있는 길이 옳다고 확신합니다.
No a wszyscy tutaj na gotowe. Nie odbierajmy. Pentakill jak najbardziej zasłużony.
Orada 0'ı bir değişim. Ayakta kalan son isim Erdemir.
Uzun zamandır bekliyordum. Şimdi benim zamanım.
Hello and welcome to our second day of quarterfinals of the first ever EMEA Masters. I hope you guys got some sleep because yesterday was pretty nail-biter and we got another one coming your way today. Another best of 5. I'm your host Ginny, joined on the desk or the floor, as you might notice, by Trouble and Aragon. First of all, Aragon, welcome. Lovely to have you.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
I'm really happy that not only I get the chance to work with you, Ginny, for the very first time ever, but Aragon, we met back over in the NLC. You did a fantastic job. Can't wait to see you now on the bigger stage, desk, floor.
Literally stage. I mean, you can call it a stage, but it was lovely to working with you as well. You were yesterday on the caster desk, so we're gonna dive into that literally now because yesterday we had Istanbul Wildcats up against LDLC in the quarterfinals, and there was a V-stream happening at the same time with SK Prime going up against Matchco. Now, if you were watching our stream, you know exactly how this went because Istanbul Wildcats, they got warmed up and they were no longer playing.
Yeah, I feel like Wildcats always need one game just to get warmed up. In groups, they lost the first game to GK, and then they went undefeated. Over in their best of 5 versus LDLC, they lost the first game, and then they went completely 3-0 reverse sweep over LDLC. Now, I can't necessarily say I was surprised to see this result because I do believe that Wildcats are tournament favorites, especially they come from the TCL, a lot of international background for the Turkish team as well. But I feel like LDLC really lacked in the series yesterday. Their timing was off, the early game, even though sometimes successful, it just seemed like they just didn't have the correct mid-game to try and snowball it further. And not every hook is a good hook. I think it costed them the game.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think something that caught me off guard as well was exactly how the games underwent. Like, in my prep before the entire tournament, I viewed LDLC as a team that was actually relatively weak early, but outplayed you later on in team fights. Right, their micro, their skirmishing was top-notch. But the games went the complete opposite, right? They did really well early game. You had Backland on LeBlanc going 3-0, and then they failed to close out. So really strange showing from LDLC in my opinion, but really good one from the TCL too.
And I will agree, it felt like LDLC did have good macro knowledge and movement on the map over in the LFL, but in this particular series, Wildcats were one step ahead. They didn't necessarily overextend or over-aggress onto LDLC, they just waited for their opponents to make mistakes, which they did 3 games in a row, and they just simply capitalized on that. It was very low risk, super high reward.
Yeah, and when we're looking at LDLC up against Wildcats, I mean, if you get that game to 25 minutes and the comps that they continuously were locking in, that was something that was quite an interesting one. But the second game on the B stream was SK Prime up against Matchco. Now, that one was a quick 3-0.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Let's say SK Prime are coming in as their favorites in this particular one. PG Nat making a huge leap, making these quarterfinals, particularly for C-Boy, who made EU Masters, now EMEA Masters, second time in a row. I feel like when you are on paper the weaker team, you need to take the risk, you need to create engages, you need to create opportunities for your team. And that's exactly what Matchco did. Sometimes they overreach just to try and get something going on the map. And SK Prime, with so much knowledge and experienced people, ex-LEC champions in the likes of Viven, Genax over in the top side, the experience paid off in terms of staying calm, staying collected, allowing Matchco to overextend, overreach, and just punish them. And I just have to give a little bit of a call out to C-Boy as well. I really enjoyed the Nautilus in the jungle. I think it's been a hidden gem in the jungle for the longest time. It clears pretty well, it ganks pretty well, and it sort of like mirrors the vibe playstyle that a lot of players have been adapting to.
Yeah, complete respect to the creativity, right? You have a lot of content creators also asking for the Nautilus, like people like I Will Dominate, saying it's really good. But no, kind of an expected result. You see them in groups, SK Prime in groups. They were contesting Team Go, who is also one of the other tournament favorites. So not entirely surprised they 3-0'd Magco. I think it was kind of expected.
As long as I don't get any Nautiluses in my solo queue games, I'm happy.
You mean in
about
your
that.
team trying to play Nautilus?
Yeah, exactly. Like the other team can go for it. I'm happy with that, but please not on mine. But when we're looking as well at the game specifically from yesterday, I think when we were looking specifically at Wildcats up against LDLC, that's the one where we expected the most tug of wars, and it went on a 3-1. Wildcats closed it out, but with the fact that those two games have been played, it also means that the bracket has been impacted, and we now have at least 2 teams that are in the semifinals, and we have another 2 teams qualifying over the next 2 days. But looking at the way the bracket is standing at the moment here, Trouble, what is standing out the most to you?
Honestly, I'm looking at the 2 matches, the one we have today and the one we have tomorrow. And I'm just looking at GO and Heretics, and I'm like, this could look like a preview of a final at EMEA Masters, same as the LDLC versus Wildcats. But I feel like Heretics coming in as the reigning champions, they're not going to go down easy, but in my opinion, Geo is coming in as the better team over from the LFL. Having the likes of Tukui, having the likes of Jezu, I feel like it was a little bit of a slip-up, losing 3-0 to LDLC in their national LFL finals, but I think that this particular LFL team is going to show up big.
No, absolutely. I completely agree with you. I'm really glad you said it was a slip-up, because I do think that Team Go have improved a lot. You can see by all the stats, you know, stuff like they've upped their priority on neutral objectives. They've gotten way better early game, and I'm a really big fanboy of Linsus, the jungler on that team. I think he could potentially be LEC soon.
NFC bias. I like you.
I think he's just fantastic, and I think the whole team works really well around him too.
Well, the first appearance of Movistar Riders is going to be today. They haven't been here since EMEA Masters main event summer 2021, and they're going up against Unicorns of Love. Now, they won the LVP Spring Split Finals against Heretics 3-0, but they're also, on top of that, one of the most decorated orgs in their region. They have an incredible fan base behind them, so that means that there's a lot of pressure coming into today, because they beat Heretics. They were EMEA EU Masters winners last year.
I'm just gonna put an asterisk here. They didn't beat Heretics in the finals. They absolutely destroyed them in the fastest ever LVP finals to exist in the Spanish region. They absolutely dismantled Heretics, and they're coming in
I love the
as the reigning champions. So I'm looking at this Movistar lineup, and I'm like, this could be what gets Superliga to win the back-to-back titles from Heretics into Movistar Riders. And honestly, the history that's also behind this roster, the coach Elyoya has praised him. I'm not gonna say the name because I'm gonna butcher it. There are some THs, some Zs. So I'm really sorry for that. But the coach has been praised a lot by Elyoya. When he made his debut over in the LEC, Elyoya said that he helped him a lot behind the scenes, and he coached him. And also the trio from G2 Arctic, when G2 Arctic was no longer, they found their home over in Movistar. They've adapted the same aggressive, crazy, battly, brawly playstyle in the bot lane as well. So yeah, I always love some fire from the LVP coming into EMEA Masters.
Yeah, and looking at the roster as well, specifically of Movistar Riders, it's that bot lane Aragon that seems to be the star of the show, just as, you know, Georgia mentioned. They found their home again, and they seem to be popping off.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Supa always does his job, and Alvaro, man, he's the guy. He always pops off, and he always roams around the map making plays early game. Him and Isma are kind of the quote-unquote jungle support duo that you always talk about, and it's really good in the meta at the moment. You always see junglers, supports, and mid laners tagging up as a team and running around the map making plays. I think the meta suits them really well at the moment, and they're showing it. They showed it in groups. Despite only going 3-3, I think they did really well.
Yeah, I mean, the performance that we've seen from them so far, it does put them in the favorites in terms of maybe predictions. I'm not going to say that, you know, I'm just, you know, gambling here. But when we're looking at the fact that they're up against Unicorns of Love, and this is more of a redemption arc for Movistar Riders as well. They need to prove themselves, not just in their local league, but they also need to be able to carry that onto this international stage. And it feels like that's been the issue, even for LDLC yesterday. We've seen it with Unicorns of Love, we'll get into that later, but now just keeps going.
I feel like they can do it, man. This man on your screens right here, 33.3% first blood participation. You don't necessarily see AD carries right now who start with call, who cheat their recall at 4 minutes to buy a call, and they just steal bot lane hitting minions. You don't see them with that much first blood participation. That means they are willing to play aggressive, they are willing to play through the bot side, and if they do catch unicorns off guard with their aggressive playstyle, they can definitely snowball this into a victory. And Supa has been the AD carry that has been talked about a lot over in the Spanish region.
And as much as we're talking about Movistar Riders this time around, they're up against Unicorns of Love, and that's another team to not sniff your nose at because they've had quite an incredible performance so far. We can have a look at the interview with Sheepy himself for a little bit of a personal touch and to see what they've been up to and how they exactly got here. Thanks, Ginny, for that lovely analyst desk so far. We have an interview ready with Sheepy from Unicorns of Love, so we can have a little look at how you guys are feeling. Hello. Welcome. How's it going?
Hello, everybody. It's going well. I'm really excited for the games. Yeah, we just done with our first 2 preparation games, and I would say it was a little bit rocky, so
okay.
I think it will be an exciting match today.
Can we have leaks? Like, what did you pick?
Sure. I mean, we played some interesting champion here and there,
yeah.
especially mid lane, top lane. It didn't work out quite as we wanted. Also, support tried out some new champion. I think we're good, and maybe we stick to more of the conventional stuff today, but we'll see. If you see a new pick from one of our players, that was probably the one we tried out today.
Okay, that is such good leaks. I know exactly what you guys are going to pick. Thank you. Before we start it off, though, Sheepy, your name. I would like to know where that's coming from.
Oh, that's actually from back in the day. I don't know if people played the game Warcraft 3, The Frozen Throne, but there was a fun map called Sheep Tag, which is basically where you are trying to play like hide and seek with wolves, and whoever kills, if they kill you first, then you kind of win, and if you survive. So that's the sheep. And then I went to play Dota, which is kind of, Ice Rock, and it's like basically the origin story from League of Legends. So I played Dota, but I called myself first Master of Sheep because I'm the master of Sheep Tag. Then it was like Master of Dota, but that was kind of lame. So then I go to League of Legends, so I wanted to call myself again Master of Sheep, but it was already taken by somebody, so I called myself Master of Sheepy, and with UL in front it was too long, and I didn't want to call myself UL Master because that's kind of, that's kind of up there, so I wanted to call myself Sheepy.
So here we are, Master of Talent. I think that is something that we've discussed a little bit. So what does it take for the fact that you guys are now on a 7-win streak across different leagues? What's your secret sauce?
The secret sauce. I mean, I said it already a little bit, but I think that I have a really great support system here in Unicorns of Love. I've been with this organization now almost 10 years. 10 years it will mark it this year. And I get basically everything I want. My family, my father's the CCO, my sister's the general manager. So if there's like any kind of problems or something, I can come to them. We're working really efficient, and yeah, I think the trust that I can take some risk here and there, and that they believe in my ability is like the thing that always pushed me to do better and do my best. So I think that's kind of, if you have a family that's supporting you inside the organization, I mean, how can you fail?
That is so nice. The power of friendship and family. Speaking of family, you have quite a history with Hilly-sang. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that started?
I mean, Haley is a crazy dude nowadays. I'm not sure, how's his relationship status, but like back in the day, he was already together with Dory. He still is. So, I mean, back in the day, we found him kind of like under the bridge. He was like not talking at all. He's like, hey, I'm Haley. And then he played like those badass champions like Thresh, Nautilus, like Flash Hook, all this kind of crazy shit. And then at some point, I think he just started to develop more. And kind of similar to my story, I think we were very introverted people, but people needed our help. So we started to speak up to get the things that we are successful, because we didn't want to lose our friends, and the achievements we wanted to accomplish was like something that needed for us to speak up. And nowadays, I think he's just like a well-rounded person, crazy guy still, really good at fishing, very terrible at any kind of house chores, but yeah, funny dude.
Thank you for the insight. We do really appreciate that. Wishing you guys the best of luck in the games to come, and we'll see. Maybe we'll get another interview.
Yeah, thank you as well.
Thank
I'm looking
you.
forward to it.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Yo, Genie, that's actually a really good interview. I feel like you should do those more often, you know?
Yeah,
Some
give
good
yourself a
insight.
pat in the
Yeah.
back. This went from Genie to Genie to Genie. Genieception.
Yeah, this is a Matrix. We're just like stuck in it. But I want to touch upon the point of his history with Hylissang because I guess they find good talent under a bridge.
Honestly, it was the best impersonation of Hylissang I have ever seen. He's like, we found this guy who's a little bit low profile, and then suddenly he just flashes in, he hooks. Don't worry, CP, he still plays the same exact playstyle. Nothing has changed with his playstyle. But yeah, when it comes to talent, when it comes to finding players, absolutely mind-blowing the fact that he has come back-to-back to EMEA Masters with Unicorns of Love, with completely different rosters, and mind you, he finds these rosters himself. He does the research and finds these people himself. And Ruby, who was playing Unicorns of Love last year, is now over in the LEC. He's got 2 new Koreans in his team that people might have their eyes. And you have something that they might be playing that's interesting?
Okay, key picks to look out for definitely are going to be Jace. They flex it as well as play a lot of meta compositions like Jace and Marky. Another pick to potentially look out for, but I doubt will come out as much as it's hyped as Graves. I think
Don't say it, you said it.
The only pairing that could work with Graves at the moment into the current snap engage meta with Ahri and Vi and stuff like this is potentially Galio Graves. I think that could be a thing to look for. Other than that, I think the last pick I'd look out for is Sejuani.
Well, Unicorns of Love, they have so far found success on their home grounds, winning both summer 2022 and now spring 2023, but they're yet to find success on the international stage. But then we're looking at Movistar Riders, and they are looking like a hot streak and a redemption are coming their way. So if you want to find out how these games are going to go, we have our lovely casters on the caster desk. We have JB, Jamada, and Oishin. Who put you guys together?
I don't know who this Oishin guy is.
I think it's an oyster. We're having oysters tonight.
We're having duck. Yeah, that's a hoisin sauce. So shitty. Welcome to the caster desk. I am, of course, just Oshin. I am joined by the glorious Goldberg and the joyful Jamada as we come into our technically third quarterfinal of this EMEA Masters.
Wonderful Oshin. I was trying that in something with O.
It's part of the name. It's just
whatever.
Oshin. It's just
My
Oshin.
vocabulary is not quite extensive.
You're
enough
a
to come up
caster.
With an O word.
I thought you were going to say something very different there for a half a second. But yeah, I heard. Never mind. Let's see. We go. Hello, welcome. It is obviously going to be the #1 team from the Superliga going up against the #1 team from the Prime League. A lot of expectations coming to this one here, but we'll start with you, GB. Is in terms of the meta and stuff like that, it hasn't really been changing too much for these teams.
No, not really. I feel like most of them are really going for the same thing. Even Xayah is still a priority pick. I think we saw yesterday, though, that there isn't the highest need for it to really be it. But I also think just in general, in terms of regionality, the German region is really on its rise. Already secured 1 semi-final spot with SK Prime, and Unicorn of Love looking to do the same. Could be the second one going into top 4.
Yeah, had a couple of, under expectation performances for the last couple of tournaments. I think it's pretty safe to say this one finally, I think last year as well, in summer when we had UOL make it over to the semis against Team Heretics, a lot of people had them down to go all the way. So it's very nice to see the Prime region sort of rise back towards the top, as UOL should hopefully, for their sake, continue this reign towards another semis.
Yeah, and heading into the bans here, big props to Aragon. He's really been doing his research. A lot of the champions he was calling out on that analyst desk is taking off. Sejuani as well, Jace as well, that of course can be flexed. Ahri too, which of course does mean that Vi might not have the same priority. We've seen a lot of first pick Vi in our region of LEC, but we have also seen responses that could just be the Xayah instead. Yesterday we saw a lot of first pick Xayah. Jinx still available though.
Yeah, so that's my thing, right? I think when Vi and Xayah are both up, I think it's fine to go towards the Xayah first, just to kind of nullify the power of a Vi pick. In this particular case, though, I do wonder about, things like the Jinx being up. I said it yesterday outright, I'll say it again outright. I feel like Jinx is just the best AD carry on patch. I feel like this Wukong pick fairly standard now. It's what we've come to expect.
It's just the scaling as well. Zeri does come through as well. Lulu's still up and available. Can be picked on 3 instead. Go and get some engaged bans going into the second ban phase as well. On Unicorns of Love, quite a few of the AD carries, or not AD carries, but junglers have already been taking off the board. But I feel like when you know Vi is up, when you see a Zeri on the enemy team, it just feels like this is going to be, let's press R, let's go on the Zeri. So yeah, no-brainer with the Vi.
It's preordained, isn't it? So now, I guess you kind of got, the next option is, do you want to go towards a strong mid jungle 2v2. With the Ahri off the table, you can, you know, pick up quite a few strong duelists in the mid lane. LeBlanc comes down, we saw a lot of that yesterday. We've also seen Unicorns even run things like the Galio very aggressively with dive compositions. Of course, away from the mid lane, you could just look at something like a blind Nautilus if you're not necessarily too scared of being punished by the Braum, just because then you've got 2 point-and-click CCs to lock down the Zeri, and that is often what we tend to see when the Zeri is on the board. And no surprises there from Unicorns, they do go towards that option.
Yeah, do feel like, oh, okay, it's on the other side here. Galio just comes through immediately. No time to talk about that that Nautilus whatsoever. So Braum, still a possibility. Wouldn't surprise me that we saw Unicorns of Love take away a lot of these synergetic supports that we often see with this Zeri, either being the Enchanters or being some of the Wardens like Tamkench, like Braum as well, to get rid of that engage factor that you already have on Unicorns of Love.
Yeah, now my big question for Unicorns is how hard do they really want to index into dive? When you're against Galio, it can be a little bit difficult to play around that massive ultimate, so do you want to just kind of I say overcommit, but like just completely commit to the idea of going forward, ignore the Galio, or do you try and, you know, find more nuanced ways to play out team fights? Right now, you're working with the mid and the top lane, so there are definitely a lot of champions to try and flex around your team comp's identity. We'll see whether or not they want to try and lock one in. The bans are flown by quite quickly. Cassio, Olaf, I think, make a fair amount of sense on the Movistar side. Olaf would run through this team composition, so I'll tell you answer that. And for Venour, you could maybe also see a Lulu follow up just to remove away the enchanters on the bottom side.
Right now, just looking at the last one, still loads of options to be paired up with that Zeri, so it doesn't really feel like no matter what happens here that you take away. You can take away the biggest enchanters if that's what you're looking for, which of course would put a Lulu, but there's still the other way around it where you just get rid of some of the self-peel. They're going to actually opt in for the Thresh instead here, so still loads of different options available to you.
Yeah, definitely quite a few. Very curious to see what Movistar will go towards. They'll just go towards the Braum, so just straight up lane counter, of course, but also just compositionally right now. Unicorns with the vibe, with the Nautilus, you expect them to be moving forward a lot of the times. Feels like Braum will always do a good job at dealing with that.
Yeah, right now Movistar are quite low range though. They are pretty much all melee, and then of course Zeri that does have that extra movement speed to make up for the fact that she doesn't have the biggest range. But having a champion that can now actually keep this spacing in between your composition and the enemy team composition is going to be really nice. So having a Syndra come through as well with the scatter of the week, one single good scatter in a team fight, we saw that yesterday, can really change the tides. And up towards the top lane, blind pick Fiora.
Okay.
Now that is confidence.
Yeah, that is a lot of confidence.
LPL, baby.
That's LPL blood, yeah. I mean, now the real question is, what does Marky feel confident? What does Marky feel confident locking in to the top side, knowing that he's against this Fiora? Does he want to just go towards something scaling for the team fights? Because right now, I mean, Movistar, it's a team fight composition pretty much through and through, right? So do you really feel like committing to a hardcore side laner? It seems like the answer is going to be yes. They go towards the Jax. Jax, I think when you've got set up like Wukong, like Galio, like Braum, honestly, he can function a lot better than you would typically expect the Jax to function in team fights.
And I think the big thing is that, you know, you mentioned a little bit earlier, GB, for Movistar, they're so short range. They have very little ways of actually kind of, you know, catching up to you once they've kind of used their initial kind of setup here. So looking at the way these two compositions go, it's kind of all or nothing here for Movistar.
Yeah, here's the thing. I got 2 LPL casters with me, so I'm going to let you guys take care of the top lane, and I take my territory with the
bottom side. Okay.
Just say right now for the Movistar riders, with the laning phase, how it's going to pan out is that you're going to beg for Nautilus to hook you. You're going to be like, please hook me so we can just get the passive going on you. Zeri is actually capable of stacking the concussive blows off Braum quite fast as well with her Q into the auto attack reset, and you're just looking to play disengage down there. Up towards the top side though, what are we looking at, gentlemen?
I mean, I think for me, I'm looking at Marky trying to have a very, very positive laning phase. I think obviously the Jax Fiora matchup is one that's discussed a lot. It's quite volatile, right? I think first punch up there from the junglers is always very, very important. If you get a lead up in there, you know, having the small item advantages, whether it's a Sheen on first base, whatever it may be, can really propel you into a massive, massive lead. So I think for Unicorns, maybe sending the Vi up there very early on just to ensure that they secure a solid topside scaling win condition will always pay off dividends, because Marky can take over in the later stages.
We shall hypothesize no more. We are jumping onto the rift for this first game of this best of 5. Movistar Riders looking to try and stop the Prime League from having 2 seeds in that semi-final setup. So difficult with the Unicorns now coming in so high off their kind of, you know, group stage setup. They kind of started slowly, but definitely built up much more powerfully as the days went on. And again, I think both teams relatively happy with what they got, but GB, don't think we're going to be seeing anything shenanigans, as we love to say, in the level 1. I think everyone's just happy to kind of fan out, get your early vision if you can, but there's no pressure.
Yeah, everyone's just covering their own foundation. What you could see is a little bit of a late invade with Braum. We quite often see that because no one really rivals you in the early game. And if you get your Q onto them, even if they flash, quite often are you able to actually follow up. So it wouldn't surprise me if we saw Movistar get a bit aggressive here.
Yeah, I just feel like,
Mask. Oh, he's going to lose his flash.
And then he's, yep.
Yeah, they got the concussive blows. It's going to be difficult to get the last little proc off, though. There it is. Stun comes down. First blood to Zeri, and GB, that is not what you want to be seeing.
No, I feel like this is what you see every single time you play against Braum. They pretty much always go for the late invade. Mask getting caught off guard, not ready for it, and well, that's costing them first blood in the first series, or first game in this series.
Yeah, we'll see what Movistar can do as well, because you've got Galio in the mid lane. The setup is definitely there. You've got the CC from him. Burst damage as well, honestly, he has a lot of it in the early levels, so this is maybe something that Movistar can look to repeatedly punish in the mid lane.
I mean, the big thing as well is that not only do you get that late invade and get obviously the flash out of the mid lane, it now sets up this, you know, kind of vertical jungling. You're now in a situation where you're going to see the Wukong taking all of these camps down bot side.
And, yeah. Is there much more to say to it than what we're witnessing on
Braum
the screen?
is good at level 1.
It's a flash, yeah. I think that's the takeaway, gentlemen.
Easy stuff, as it were, in the early stages here. And I think one thing I also want to highlight, just on the minimap, Gulwalk, if you could bring out for a second, wards in the river for the Movistar side. So they know if Peach is going to cross over to try and gain some camps back, it's going to be very easy to just constantly track him. So his options are super limited here. So this is a very, very pre-planned out Movistar idea for this level 1. And they can see him now going over to the red buff. And if they want to respond to it, they certainly can.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Do they have the presence of mind that he queued over the wall here? Because they saw him on the wall, they knew he went into the pit. Question is, do they know more?
Do they even care?
That's another question.
I was just about to say, do they care right now? Because Mask is unfortunately kind of dealing with the fact that he is without a flash in this mid lane, and all it takes is one more kind of big taunt here coming out from the Galio to try and set that one up. They haven't really fully set it up. Now they'll know that Peach was able to steal away that red buff, but not getting any of the other camps. That's the big thing now. Only getting that one and kind of keeping it relatively equal to the Wukong.
So we actually didn't see what happened in top lane, but something must have happened, like a horrible bad trade, because Marky had to teleport back to lane very early and couldn't even get a new item. It was just refillable potion. Venour is still up here, quite ahead in the CS. Of course, there is a minion wave pushing in, but still very comfortable early game from the Fiora.
Yeah, very, very interesting as to how that's gone down, because level 1 typically, I guess, maybe it's a bit of vital RNG went the way of Venour, and that could have just won out for him.
Well, here's the thing. Did you guys actually know there's a pattern to Fiora vitals?
Oh,
in terms of where they could go. So I would draw this on the screen. I'm just afraid that someone's actually gonna get a kill. So we'll wait. We might go back into it after Peach. But the thing is, there is 4 quadrants that it can work in. Right now, you saw it pass down on the bottom one, and now it's gonna come down. Well, I'm just gonna use this. So there's 2 angles. Either one of the 2 things is it's down and it's left. The other one is north and right. And it's always going to switch in between the 2. So you can always 50-50. So you saw it's down there. Now it's gonna
Marky! Oh, he missed the flash Q! And he gets stuck in the tower! Oh my god, it's a disaster there for Peach and the Unicorns. They just can't take a break.
Oh no! That is quite a bit of a disaster.
You're talking about all the vitals, the setup. Yeah.
I was just having a good time discussing Fiora vitals. Didn't really expect a Vi to just send it on the tower. And I guess neither did Marky, but he's happy about it.
Oh, Marky. Yeah, I was going to say Funky now. Not feeling the best of this particular trade. Has already popped the ghost. Will keep his flash for another day because Supa gets himself a kill. And this is looking fantastic for Movistar.
I'm a big fan of the high-paced gameplay that we're getting here. Topside wasn't really there, duty. They'd still Marky takes it, but down towards the bot side as well.
Lads!
All right, so
Wait.
Yeah. Give it to us.
No,
He's trying really hard.
Oh no, but like cover it. You can
cover it. Oh!
Don't look.
Yeah, just you know, Peach getting baited in by Marky, just taking the bad trades, right? Thinking that maybe there's a bit of room to maneuver there, but doesn't quite have the distance, as it were. A little bit too short on the mark. And Marky will very happily pick up that kill. Is going to close the goal gap as well. You can see that Venour is having a very, very comfortable time in the CS department. So they're just covering for that gold lead just a little bit.
Yeah, support movement on the map here a little bit as well. Resets came through. Wondering where we will be sending this Braum. I can imagine right now comms would be that you'd like to get the Dragon before first Rift Herald gets taken down. You already got a kill early as well. You can see they are grouping up together now, Isma and Alvaro.
Yeah, and I will say also, I just feel like the skirmishing power right now from Movistar just a little bit stronger. I think once the level 6 is also online for Vi, things can get a little bit trickier to navigate for Movistar, but I think whilst the Galio has the ultimate, it's the bigger impact ability. Venour.
Oh, he's going for the 1v1. It's going to be a flash for flash. Marky doesn't get hit up, though. They don't have an ultimate from the Vi. So that top lane one is not really going to go anywhere else. You are going to have the Galio come down, burning both flashes here of the USC, and they're going down into the turret because they know they can get these kills, and they'll get out scot-free. Movistar are styling on them.
That execution was just so clean from start to finish. Tanking of Alvaro there, everything was just picture perfect. Unicorns cannot respond at all. Summoner's blown. Nothing saves them, even though they're cornered up against the wall. You think maybe a bit of a turn, but nothing comes of it. Clean 2-for-0. Movistar walking away. Only thing really is they couldn't get the Dragon, but to be honest, you're happy with that exchange.
Man, I really love the productivity we're seeing here, especially coming out of yesterday's series too. But the fact that these teams are so willing to actually fight here and make the rotation involving the mid lane as well. Galio got the first move as well by actually getting the push in, and then it does get a bit messy down here. Summoner's RP is still up, but it's the tanking here. You can see that Alvaro afterwards is actually still the Galio who's going to take it over. Had that been any other member, it could have looked a bit dire, but since it's actually the Galio, they get out scot-free. He still had that flash.
Yeah, perfect gauging really. Alvaro, one more tower shot would have died. Fresskowy as well flashes out because he knows one more tower shot, that much ramped up damage probably would have killed him as well. Everyone just knew their role, CC'd perfectly. Really, really good stuff. And now continued pressure on the bottom side. I think they really want this Dragon at the very least. Also could look for an invade. They know where a lot of the camps are.
Sweeper up here. I feel like Isma could have sweeped a bit earlier. They sweep now, but not the entrance.
But what can you do as Peach? You have no flash. Braum Wukong in your face. Sure, the Nautilus is here to defend you, but I mean, barely. X flash at all.
You gotta be very, very aware of this now. You don't really have any kind of presence in this bot side here as a side of Unicorns, and this is the problem when the game starts to snowball against you like this. That's a 2-0-2 on the Zeri. So that Zeri is starting to get pretty scary already into this game. We have yet to see a Dragon be taken by either of these teams, but if Movistar can get those Dragons stacking for themselves, they're going to be in a pretty easy kind of setup to just ignore the Fiora.
Yeah, most definitely. And you can even see, though, Unicorns of Love, they had an idea in mind of how the early game was supposed to go out. Leave the bot lane alone. We're going to spend our resources on the top side. We're going to try and get the Fiora ahead. As soon as you die to the tower, that plan backfires, and now suddenly on the bot side of the map, you're also finding yourself in a sticky situation.
Exactly. You're just trying your best to find proactive options, but the issue is, you know, you're dealing with so many defensive tools on the side of Movistar that they're actually also simultaneously using proactively, that it does feel like your options are relatively limited. Now that Peach has level 6, potentially plays are a little bit easier to force, but as soon as Fresskowy has the ultimate back online, it's going to feel so hard to play.
Oh, Mask getting taunted up. Nothing happens more out of it. And at first I was going to say, Movistar Riders being a bit indecisive. It's taking them quite a bit to start up the first Drake, to the point where Peach was actually, okay, hold up.
Nope.
To the point where Peach was actually moving up towards the Rift Herald. They then decided, oh shit, oh shoot, we can't actually take this Dragon yet, so we're just going to go up towards the Drake instead, or Herald instead.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Peach is still here hanging around. Fresskowy is also about to have his ultimate come back off cooldown as well. Maybe like 15, 20 seconds away from that. No, 10. There you go. Thank God. And once that's up, I mean, it's pretty uncontestable. I think for Unicorns, top side prior not there. First move from Fresskowy. Numbers advantage as well.
Marky's low.
I mean, yeah, but I don't know how much it really matters, and even Supa's hit, maybe ganking Mask.
Yeah, looking for something. Scout of the Week is good, though, to try and stop Supa from being a little bit of a gank master himself. They are going to have Alvaro just clear off these waves. Again, I think this is an interesting one as well, because Unicorns...
well,
right.
So...
hopefully that goes mid lane.
Yeah, it should.
Okay.
Because he was facing mid, so I
but
think
you can delay this a little bit, so there's going to be plenty of resistance here for the side of Unicorns. We'll see how it goes.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I think it's done. Yeah, that's unfortunate. He picked it up and then forgot he picked it up.
So my only thought is, I'm pretty sure a little while ago you used to be able to pop your sweeper before picking up the Herald.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Isma tried to do.
Yeah.
And accidentally just, you know,
summoned it.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
Funky. Getting 1v1'd here by Supa, or Supa even, as does pop his own ghost and get himself out, but still a favorable trade, you would imagine, for the Movistar bot lane. And Unicorns definitely being let off the hook a little bit there, GP, with the fact that Shelly didn't get to do anything.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they pretty much just said, hey, we're going to get this Herald, and we're so confident in our own abilities that we're just going to show it to you right here. There it is. That's Shelly.
Look what we got. Isn't she cool?
And you can't have it.
Yeah. Wait a minute. What are you doing?
Up towards the top side there. Still no Drake Prior, but they're actually going to use it on the top side here instead. Seeing if they might find themselves a cheeky little kill. It's a good minion wave here from Marky, but no, still actually patient with it and respecting the fact that there might be a jungle up here.
Yeah, I think just also trying to abuse the flash timer just came back up for Venour, but I think the fact that he steps away just kind of makes this opportunity slide out of the hands of Movistar, and they can just continue to play the map as they have been. I think Dragon already up, hasn't been taken rather. I was thinking it was the second one.
Yeah.
This can just realistically be the next target for Movistar. Yes, the Herald didn't go their way, but they should still have priority pretty much across the board.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing that's just been, I really wish they would have gotten that Drake earlier. I think that could have really elevated their high-octane gameplay that they had. It's a small thing for now because they still have the gold lead in their favor, but they also need to get the objectives and use them meaningfully as well afterwards.
That's the big thing, is that we're looking at these teams, and yes, they can get advantages and can work with them, but it's the best of 5, and this game's not over just yet. It's kind of an interesting setup to see what Unicorns can do now that they are behind. You know, we have seen them even in the one loss against LDLC in the group stage, that they did kind of just let LDLC kind of run the map. They didn't really push for anything crazy to happen outside of what was actually going on. So now we'll see if Unicorns have actually changed it a little bit.
Hold up. Supa can join this fight really easily just by dashing over the ball, so let's see what happens here.
Oh, Funky immediately going to have to flash away after going into the Feathers Fly. Peach is dead, and I think the Xayah is as well. Nothing you could do. Great 4-man scatter, but that's just a disengage, and that's just Movistar just owning these engages.
No, it's so interesting to see Unicorns kind of get picked apart by this Galio Braum skirmishing power, because this is actually the combo that they use to get into quarterfinals against LDLC. Sort of falling trap there, but I feel like, again, you know, for Movistar, just having the faster collapse from the Galio and the ability to lock down so many members with the concussive blows, it just makes it so difficult for Unicorns to go. And you saw as soon as Peach presses R key on somebody, everybody just turned around on Movistar and blew him up, and no one else from Unicorns could even follow up.
And that was the gold lead we were talking about here, finally deciding to stack up the Drake. And I think they don't have too much vision around it. There's no vision in the pit right now, so they don't actually know Isma is coming over the wall. Once again, so easy for Galio to join the team fight. And yes, to have the Xayah, that's usually quite good at disengaging one thing, but there's multiple layers of CC that can be layered on top of you, and we saw that there in the fight.
And that was the big thing as well, is that, you know, it was a fight on two fronts. It was a 2v4 at all points because they couldn't really get the Unicorns team together. They were always, you know, the Nautilus and Syndra towards the top, your Vi and your Xayah towards the bottom. It's just not really going to work out for you right there. And it's a 0-7 on the scoreline. You got the Dragon, you got the first Herald. I'm not trying to talk about a perfect game just yet, Shimada, but like, I mean, it's looking fantastic from the Superliga #1.
Yeah, I mean, you know, on the right track at the very least here for Movistar. I will say, trying to think about the options out for Unicorns, because I think as far as Movistar are concerned, they can continue to play out the game for the next 10 minutes or so, as they have been for the previous 14.
Yeah.
So I think if you're a thinking man now, you're a thinking person trying to get out of the box that Unicorns have been put in, you can't really play through the bomb side. It's a little bit too hard in terms of the 2v2 or turning into a 3v3, because it's never really going to be a numbers, you know, you're never going to be at numbers parry. Galio is always going to be able to join the fight first, chances are. So then it kind of says to me, maybe you go towards the top side, but even in saying that, Marky has so many tools to be able to get out of those escape attempts.
You say these maybe. No, I'm pretty sure like cross map would be a really good idea.
It's got to be the only option.
Specifically if you know that the Galio is leaving lane. That Drake fight there could have been a good example of where to do it as well, because you know you have this matchup, and we saw them trying to give resources up to Venour in the beginning.
Divine Sunderer versus components of a Divine Sunderer.
I'm just going to be honest. If Venour wanted to turn around and kill him, I think he could have. I think he's actually just respecting where Movistar could be, because they're all in fog. They're showing now on this ward because they're on the bottom side.
Yeah, it's a little too late. As you said, I feel like the Fiora could have done it, but maybe they're going to see a bit of a dive on this bot side. That's the next kind of play. You can see Movistar really trying to make use of the fact that they have got these advantages in lane. They have been able to kind of, you know, get this Zeri going. And using the Galio, who's stacking up with the Rod of Ages, no problem whatsoever.
Yeah, you can see it now. Key's also just recalling, so you can just push in this wave. Either then say, great, if you stick around, we're going to look for one thing, a dive. Two thing, just move up towards the top side. 20 seconds on this Herald. No need to flip it on the turret, but if you're not on the turret...
Yeah, Cyclone into a Glacial Fissure. It is a apocalyptic storm right now on the bot side, and Peach still get out. Will the Nautilus get out? Yes, he will, but very, very, very close. And now look at Funky. He's got nowhere to go.
I wonder what's about to happen to Funky, guys. He has his ultimate.
He does have Ghost too. Don't know if that's really going to help him out.
He can go into his ultimate. Yeah. No, there's just nothing he can do right there. Another kill goes out to Zeri. That is Supa on 3-0 and 4 GB.
Yeah, and how easy is these rotations going to be? We just got a kill. We got a turret bot side. Herald is up. What are we going to do after we recall? We're just going to go straight into towards top side. We're going to get the second Rift Herald. And this game, Movistar is just running away with it.
Oh, no scatter.
No CC though.
Yeah.
I miss when you can flash with Galio like that.
I do
that
not.
Was so
bro, just like level 1 flash into the face.
Do you know what it is?
Like...
It's because this guy's a support main, so
he's
he's probably abusing it before it got moved.
I ain't afraid to say it.
Come at me.
So, Venour, tower, should be able to walk it out, to be honest. And that's just more gold into Fiora's back pocket. And this is, I guess, a condition which Unicorns can continue to potentially lean on. But again, it's a very volatile side lane matchup that hasn't necessarily been involved just yet in the game.
Yeah, and the late Drake stacking as well can also really complement that too in that regard. But enough about Drakes. We are up on the top side now. 5 members of Movistar. Funky still down towards the bottom side, and with that, as Unicorns have lost, you're just going to have to forfeit the objective.
Galio is up. It's as simple as that. They just can't fight into it. It's so difficult to do right now, and Unicorns just paying that respect, trying to cross map for the tower at the very least, right? Try and find a little bit of gold back, but it feels like the uptrade is always going to be Movistar's, and hopefully this time Isma, you know, holds on to it. He puts it down in a place where he's going to.
This is already better than the first one. It's improvement.
I was going to say he actually got the sweeper off before picking it up this time, so not too bad by him. But I will say, look, obviously a lot of positives coming in here from Movistar Riders, but when you look across the kind of gold and how far they should really be ahead, it's not really feeling they're a million miles. It's only about 2k gold, and with the amount of burst damage you have available to you with something like that, there is very much a situation where Movistar, if they don't find a good position, they're going to be caught.
Yeah, I will say that. I mean, speaking of being caught, yeah, Marky.
They're going to fully commit. There's going to be the cease and desist down. They're going to have the counter-strike come in, but he's in the bounce house right now. Welcome to my party, says Peach, and they finally get themselves on the board.
Yeah, but how much can he actually get on the top side here? This is going to be 1 turret. You can even look for a tier 2 turret here. You see so many members on the bottom side. Not so many members. You see all of them on the bottom side. So Supa going to pick up the first outer turret. I can just look for the tier 2 turret as well.
Yeah, Movistar don't care about the dragon stacking.
That is just 600 gold down in the pocket.
Yeah. Actually, Alvaro shared the logo.
Good man. Good man. That is a good man. I'm here to advocate for supports. Too long have we been getting paid less wages than everybody else.
No, that is not okay, my good man.
Equality for all. Anyway, just because you got the kills doesn't mean you get all the gold. But using that power in the top lane, they've been able to kind of move down towards this mid lane. The Fiora's still going. This is an interesting kind of setup right now. We're seeing a little bit of a mini macro kind of duel right now as both teams try to get the most out of these rotations.
Yeah, so they actually traded turrets down there. So I guess Unicorns of Love actually cross-mapping in a situation where they can't contest anything as soon as your group, but still making the most out of having Fiora on the side lane, really getting her ahead of the matchup. You can see now 1.2k, still not rivaling the 2 gold leads in between the AD carries, but either way, it's something to play for.
It's definitely something to play for. You're still going to have to think your way out of this box, right? Because no matter how you argue it, Movistar still have an additional global to work with, and that's always going to be a very powerful tool to use.
So talk to me about this box of yours. What is it? How do we think us out of it?
So unicorns are inside of it. I know you can't really put a unicorn inside.
No, I could try and draw it, but my artistic capabilities are really not that good.
I really want to see you now draw a unicorn.
You know what? In the break, we'll get him to do it on the telly. Don't worry. But I think for unicorns, it's probably going to have to be about trying to overload numbers in the side lane and catch Movistar off guard, expecting only there to be just Venour or maybe at most Peach. But the bigger issue is, now that Baron's on the map, doing that on the bottom side is always so difficult because you always run the risk of Movistar just bursting down the Baron, even if you find the side lane good.
Yeah, that's the thing as well. And even when you do that as well, every time you overload the map, there is the risk that you're just going to lose out on objectives.
The Cyclone coming in, but this is not really a setup you want to go for just yet. Now they've got the rest of the team coming in. Mask still hasn't died. They got the CC down, and finally the Syndra and the Vi will fall. They get the Xayah as well. They trade 3 for 1. They go straight for the Baron.
Yeah, and then you won't have to worry about the Baron any longer if you want to split push on the top bot side. But what a wonderful fight from Movistar as well, and you can really see how the composition function as well. Even if someone gets a pick, so easy for the Galio to come around every single time. Then afterwards, playing as the engager, just flashing forward. And maybe a bit over-eager for Supa is the only thing, but outside of that, good fight.
Yeah, and you know what? This is just really lovely to see generally, just because Movistar, we had them have a very shaky group stage. They said self-admittedly, Fresskowy in the interview, our best of fives, that's where we shine. You can see it in this team fight. All the defensive tools just being used aggressively because they know even if they overstep like this, sure, Supa dies, they're never losing out on this skirmish and they're always going to run over the Unicorns in this kind of fight.
Yeah, and unfortunately Fiora TP down as well in that instance, so don't really have the same proactivity if you want to TP to a minion wave on a side, if you want to teleport to your team after you've been overextended, anything like that. So just straight up win, 2 minutes on the next Drake. Not sure it's that's going to matter too much. I think right now with the Baron buff for Movistar, it's very much about taking care of the tier 2 turrets, push in the mid lane, and then just take care of the red side so you have a clear path between mid lane and bot lane every single time you want to juggle the members of Unicorns.
Movistar as well, just opening up on 2 lanes, sending Fresskowy down to the bottom side. You can always kind of just go very quickly. His ultimate is on cooldown, so it's not as instant as a button press as it normally is, but just acknowledging that they know there's not really much that Unicorns can do about 4 men grouped up in the mid side. And then moving down towards this Galio, Alvaro and Isma, just constantly being a nuisance.
Yeah, I mean, this is difficult now for the Unicorns to really try and get any kind of a semblance of control. Because the thing is, when you have the Fiora, yes, put her in a side lane, that's fine. But like you said with the Baron, you could just go over the wall. And what masks, what are you going to do? Very little, because they're going to throw absolutely everything in the kitchen sink at you. You don't have a minion wave, you won't be able to take this tower, but they get the kill.
And honestly, I just love this, because they acknowledge that Fiora's on the top side, split pushing. They know that she's going to make sure they get the tier 2, no teleport, and they're just forcing plays again and again.
Yep, they're going to keep going in. There's a Cyclone in. They're going to try and see if they can kill off these 3 members, and they will certainly kill off the Vi. This is the thing, the Fiora's still going. I don't know if they can end right now, but they're definitely going to crack open this base.
Oh yeah, they are definitely.
They're looking for it.
20-second on Mask, 30-second on Peach, still 3 members alive. Question is, can they actually hold the defenses? Fiora's still not back in
Funky
base
can't
yet.
move forward. He can't move forward on this, because if he does, he's going to get CC'd. Immediately, you can see the Braum going down. They're going to go try and jump onto the Nautilus. They will. Supa will die. And now it's down to Fiora. The Nexus is exposed. Funky with a massive blade call gets them all down. Triple kill comes in. Give them the Quadra. And the Unicorns stay in by the skin of their teeth.
And that's a massive fight! But the question is it going to be massive enough even looking at that? Because they're still at a gold deficit. They hold on to their Nexus, but the question still remains, for how long? I think in the silver lining, you get a lot of gold over on your AD carry, but it's still going to make team fighting really difficult.
All right, that's going to be the big question. Can Funky use this gold before Movistar just end the game?
Yeah.
To be honest with you, again, we were speaking about this overforce on the bottom side because they know Fiora, no teleport on the top side. She wants to commit just to try and get whatever gold she can. And Isma just goes in, sends it, double knock up. The peel back is good, but it's not really enough to stop Peach from going down. And at this point, you're just wondering how much can Movistar really get. Yeah, eventually they'll turn into a bit of an overstep, not expecting Funky perhaps to have so much damage on the pullback.
And you can see it there. Fiora base finally comes through. Supa, unfortunately, tanking turret doesn't make the situation easier for him. And then just guiding back for Funky there as well to at least pick up the kill.
I mean, look,
towards Marky.
It's flashy, right? It feels great. You've stopped them from doing it. But your Nexus is exposed, and you have to deal with so many things that can get over the wall very easily.
Okay, all right, hear me out.
I hear you. Now go on.
What's up?
Venner's almost gone. His whole breaker. Okay,
right.
guys.
How does that help them with the Nexus?
It doesn't. but what it does do is it allows him to maybe 1v2 on the side lane.
Wow.
And that could be really impactful if Movistar don't just walk into the base.
Yeah, I
and
was
blow
going
up
to
the
say, what
Nexus.
makes you think they want to 1v2 in a side lane?
Yeah, I mean, if he's kept in the base like this...
2v3.
He's 1v1ing, and that's the Fiora getting that kill. They get the Galio ultimate as well, and now you're losing out on this fight because you can't get the numbers there. The Syndra will die after keeping everybody in that mid lane, but can the Galio get the CC down and keep himself alive? Double kill comes in for Supa. He is very low, though. Doesn't want to walk too far forward. The Glacial Fissure is massive and stops everybody from doing it, but the feathers are flying, and Funky is popping off again! They can't end the game! Unicorns refuse to die!
And it's such a messy execution for Movistar as well. There were even was a scenario where Supa could have just slid over the base, went into the exit, and tried to go for a backdoor. They opt in for the fight. Unfortunately, Funky's just there again, being the man holding Unicorns of Life's hopes alive.
Just fighting in that choke is just so deadly because the Xayah can just send all these feathers through. I will also give a bit of honorary shout out because Alvaro actually stopped so much AoE coming in. But yeah, Fiora's damage, it's scaled. It's peaking right now. That's the volatility of this side lane matchup. It's not always just going to be Jax winning 1v1, and you can see even dealing with Isma pretty handedly. Decides to swap focus over on the bottom side all the while. There was a little bit of that going on, but this is where things go awry.
You can see it here, the Unbreakable. He unfortunately gets pushed away by the Void ultimate, which actually enables a path for the Xayah Vethers to come through, so the pullback will still be there, and that really enables Funky to get this team fight.
The AD carries are basically even now, with 7 kills in about 3 minutes going over to Funky, if I'm being totally honest. A quadra into a double is it's a good time. And again, this is like, I mean, the big difference right now is that there's no real difference in the gold lead, but the big difference I'm looking at is you've got 3,500 gold up for the Fiora.
Okay, so here's the thing, though. Still open Nexus, but now, as you said, 3,000 for Fiora. The items we talked about as well, Hullbreaker has finally come through. Will that be enough for them to actually manage to find a side lane win condition?
You know what? I think Movistar might be in a much bigger problem than perhaps we may even be leading up to right now.
Because they haven't got a dragon condition either.
Yeah, there's no dragon condition. Fiora is genuinely very, very scary to deal with. Marky got one shot. That's not even like, he got destroyed. So now Movistar, I think they just have to make the call for Baron, and it's borderline desperation, but they have to force Unicorn's hand in one way or another. He's got 2 cannons down there with the Hullbreaker buff on.
Actually, even
then, take this very fast.
If they start coming, you can see the minimap as well down here. There's actually a single ward, 2 TP still available for them. So if they start TPing through with Venour up towards this top side with the Baron, they can just disengage.
Now looking for the fight straight away. You're going to see Lekcyc go straight away into the stasis to try and keep himself alive. Just get his ult off. The Galio ultimate come in here to try and make sure Isma doesn't die. They get the Wukong traded for the Nautilus, and you can see in the picture-in-picture the Fiora is taking out Marky. He's going to be able to knock out the flash for flash. That could be huge. It's a 3v3 now into the 1v1, but you're losing your base right now, Movistar. You can't let this happen.
You're losing the base. The only reason why Venour isn't actually pushing more, he's out of mana. He might teleport back to the base. Look, Unicorns are actually trying to keep Movistar here. Even if Marky's there to defend, he's still losing the 1v1.
Yeah, he's going to go top side. He's going to become a team fight Fiora right now. Peach does go down. They know they can keep this fight going. Supa shall be fallen, and that's going to be everything for Movistar. GB, it's crumbling. It's falling apart.
I have no idea what's happening. Marky teleported in, but he's recalling the wall right now.
Oh my God, Marky just gets stunned up a little bit. I don't know if they're going to be able to kill him. He is so squishy, though. He's got no resistances whatsoever, and he is running for the hills.
Honestly, I think the better way to frame it is...
oh my God, he's got another ward! He's on another ward! Oh my God! If there was ever a textbook definition of why you buy wards, that was it. And this could be it, GP. This could be the game.
Oh, what a top lane difference. And of course, a lot goes down to Funky. He's been able to keep them in this game on the Xayah when it came down to the offensive on their base. But for now, still not over just yet. 20, 30 seconds on top and jungle. Supa just alive again. 4 versus 3. Let's see if they can hold a stand here.
But Isma's your engage. You can't get the Galio in. He can't be the initiator. He's a secondary setup. So right now, Unicorns from the dead. They said they were magical creatures. I didn't believe them. But look at the way they've come back into this. The Nexus was bare. They had an opportunity to fall down. But they're not going to make the same mistake as Movistar. They're going to back themselves up and take note of everything else they just got.
Not just yet. They're going to go and secure the dragon. Dot the I's,
Soul
cross
points.
the T's. Soul points still there. They got 2 inhibitors. This is a great turnaround play for now. Ping's actually going up towards the Baron side. Unicorns, what are they doing here? Okay, so they're sending Peach. They're sending Peach to the Dragon. And the rest of the team are resetting, but I like this because it means if they recognize that Movistar are on the Baron, they can pull Peach off. The rest of the team will already be there to dissuade the Baron takedown. Doesn't look like that's going to necessarily unfold, though Pings are still very aggressive towards it, so I think they've got to try and go for this.
You can keep these members in, but look at Venour down towards the bottom side. Who's actually there to stop him? Like, yeah, you may get this Baron. Now the rest of the members are just going to come up to stop you. Yeah,
they're going to murder them in the pit.
I mean, you don't have flashes right now.
Time to stop them bases.
Stop them bases. There's the hook to come out, the unstoppable, to try and see if they're going breakable. The Baron does get secured here, but you've got the Fiora on the Nexus turrets. Not going to be able to get anybody on the exit, though.
That's
we'll
one
take
Nexus turret.
One Nexus turret. Just stopping the recalls. There's the Galio ultimate to try and just defend.
They can catch
right now. They can defend him, but can he get out? That's the real question. The parry does not do anything whatsoever. They will be able to kill off the Fiora.
That's big, that's big, that's big.
Big on Peach, who tries to go back in on his ultimate, but a scan of the week is fantastic. They're trying to jump on a Supa, who hasn't got a place to go, and he's deleted. Look at Funky dropping down the feathers. He needs to stay alive, though. We'll go into GA and resurrect. Can he get anyone else out the back of this? That's the question.
Oh, the flash!
Oh, no! My God! That scan of the week was massive, and that should be the game. You can see the Galio going forward, but there's nowhere else from the B. And my God, the Unicorns have done it.
What a
turnaround. This is absurd. Movistar are up 15, 20 kills. Nexus open. And Unicorns are gonna turn it around.
Have we just witnessed? This is
face.
absolutely unbelievable.
You never have to lose faith. That's the thing. With all the evidence.
That's a unicorn win.
I was just about to say, that's a unicorn win, because when everything else tells you they should lose, everything else is pointing in the other direction, you never lose faith. And they are just chilling, they vibing. Because why would they be happy? They've got a job to do.
They're not chilling, they're not vibing. They're as confused as we are.
Don't you enforce that narrative. They were confused.
They don't know how they won that game. But I mean, one opening game to the series, right? Because
huge.
I think the way that at the very least a lot of us kind of massive,
yes,
kind of broke down this game looking at it. Coming into it was Unicorns were very much a thinking a chess team. They really do like to outthink the problems that they're in. Movistar put them in one of the biggest holes I think I've seen. And they still managed to climb out of it.
Let me tell you something. Earlier Drake stacking, Herald not actually missing the mark.
So
like
many
all
things.
these, all the gameplay from Movistar Riders, it's great, it's crisp. I like the high octane, but the objective afterwards is not there to follow up with it. How you elevate the lead even further with the Herald, no longer there either. They really were their own worst enemy to the point where this game should have been won, but Unicorns of Love, they held on and they found their win condition. They fought themselves out of the box.
Yeah, well, look, we could talk about that game for hours.
But we have other people to do it.
Yeah, we got other people who are paid to do it. We're going to send it back over to the AD. Lads, tell us what happened.
Thanks, guys.
We need to break this down now.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to do our best, but the Unicorns of Love, magical creatures that made the impossible possible because they managed to flip that game in their favor. I don't know how they did it, so that's up to you guys.
I don't think they know how they did it, because I saw the players at the end, they were sitting in the chest staring at each other like, we won this? They were not quite sure. You know what? I was talking to Noah a little bit from the LVP, and she told me that, you know what, Movistar are really good at getting that early game aggression, getting that early game lead. We know the bot lane from the G2 Arctic likes to play a little bit more aggressive, and they did just that. They used the Braum to their advantage. You never overextend level 1, because Braum loves to late invade. You've got the tools together with your teammates to stun someone in place. If they don't flash in time, if they flash too late, it's already too bad. And right here, Pete also donates a kill over to Jax.
That's rough.
I wouldn't be very happy if I was the Fiora right there, but it was a streak of events that favored Movistar so bad. Now, chatting to Noah, she told me that Movistar have a little bit of a reputation for being flippers in the mid-game. And I'll agree with what Goldbox said at the end of this game. Even though the kills were greatly in favor of Movistar, they had only 1 tower difference. So 11 kills to Movistar, only 2 to Unicorns of Love, but there were 3 to 4 towers. The goal was only 2,000 gold apart. So even though Unicorns of Love were losing in kills and they're consistently being picked apart, Xayah kept farming, the towers kept going down, which meant that the global gold stayed very even to get that final team fight going.
Yeah, we'll get into the global gold later. We get into the final team fights, but one of the really interesting matchups that we said we wanted to kind of like have a look at, as a former pro top player yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, Venour completely outperformed Marky. I did think going into the series that Venour and Marky were both the weak points of their team, right? Venour, you could see him in groups. He was just either going even or losing. For example, he just kept getting chain solo killed versus hero, non-stop in groups. And then the same on the other end for Marky, with Starscreen getting the better of him in groups also. But now they come together, and Venour's clearly outperforming. I do think the Jax counterpick was a bit peculiar. I don't actually like that matchup at all as a counterpick. When you get R5 counterpick, you really want to use it really well. So other options into Fiora included stuff like Kennen, Renekton, and I'm really surprised they didn't get utilized.
Yeah, guys, put it down in your notes next time you're up in solo queue from Aragon himself. But Georgia, these are the team fights that you're spoken about. You're one auto away from ending the game.
This is so hard to watch as a Spanish fan, because they were that was a 22-minute stomp had that Nexus gone down. That was LVP putting their foot down, putting their stamp in this tournament, because Unicorns of Love is one of the strongest teams that we currently have in EMEA Masters. So if Movistar came into this best of 5 dismantling them off the get-go, that means that draft conversations have to happen, performance conversations have to happen really quickly before we jump into the next one. But here is where things start getting really sour, because Movistar, that's a 2v3 that you're engaging into. There's 2 more members towards the top side of the map, and even though you kill the Syndra, Funky was, no pun intended, but the key to victory for Unicorns of Love. He was the one with the gold on him, he was the one with the consistent damage on him on the Xayah, and I feel like Movistar kept repeatedly pushing themselves into these very tiny choke points where feathers from Xayah really shine.
Yeah.
Completely agree, and this is just the power of a very accelerated Xayah. Despite being behind really early, I think he was 0-4 at one point. This is the power of Navori on Xayah, constantly keeping up that W story because all the CDR and multiple feather pullbacks you could see, especially in the final fight, which I hope we get a recording of. There were so many feather choke points, and they kept just going into it. At the end, I think Mask finally came online, and yeah, in this fight right here, I believe it's going to extend on quite a bit with Venour and Peach getting caught, but towards the end of it, the feathers towards that Raptor's bush right there, as we keep going, I believe he Gale Force is in now, right? Watch these pullbacks. They're absolutely ridiculous and insane, and then also Mask to top it off, playing really well. I think he flashes out here. Yeah, it's really phenomenal.
And that's why you wore the bush. I mean, look at that. Buy your wards, guys.
Okay, I would have to say that Funky was absolutely instrumental for the victory right here from Unicorns of Love. But I feel like overall Unicorns, you said it yourself, Aragon, they shouldn't be happy with this performance. The early game was absolutely abysmal. The death after the top lane from Peach, like we didn't expect this sort of plays. And the fact that one player has to pull out 37,000 damage to pull you out of a hole.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're not going to have this every single game. Funky's not necessarily going to have this performance every single game, so everyone needs to start pulling their weight. My eyes fall straight into Peach and Mask because we actually wanted to highlight them at the very beginning of the show. And honestly, they had a pretty poor performance, especially coming from Peach, which we expect a little bit more aggression, especially around that mid lane area, because we do know Korean duos are so good at synergizing together to get their leads.
Yeah, also one of the things that we spoke about earlier was that goal difference. And it feels like a repetition from yesterday's games where, you know, it's like going one way and then just like the stock market.
Yeah, I mean, just to hop on what you said, I think it was uncharacteristic though, right? I think Peach and Mask, maybe it's first game jitters, they were so consistent. I had Mask down as my most consistent player of the team because I legitimately have never seen him get ganked. I've never seen him die. That first death against Naut was the worst thing I've seen in the entire group stage. And on the same, yeah, this was my mid lane. This was my matchup to watch. So I'm really upset that, honestly. I really hope they bounce back and it was just a one-off. And I think they will.
Yeah, coming into the next game, though, it's quite important to have a look at the draft as well. As you said it yourself, Georgia, the fact that if this was a 22-minute stomp, which it could have been with one auto attack, would have been a crazy situation to be in.
I mean, I really like the switcheroo that Movistar pulled here with the Galio. Remember that the biggest opponent of Unicorns of Love was LDLC in this group stage, which they had to fight over in a tiebreaker game, so they technically played them 3 times. Mask pulled out the Galio twice versus LDLC, which is one of the strongest teams in our tournament, and absolutely dismantled them. So for them to take away, to having it prepared to take it away from Mask, but to also have a fantastic performance on that, I'm really liking what I'm seeing because the mid jungle from Movistar needs to step up. If Peach and Mask show up what they did in group stage, and they're absolutely phenomenal, Supa and the bot lane is just not going to be enough. So I'm loving the Galio right here, and I'm loving the adaptation.
Yeah, I think for the most part, Unicorns of Love's draft is fine. I think they had a lot of good answers into the Zeri. For example, the double point and click stuns from Vi and Nautilus into the Zeri. Zeri hates that, right? It makes pressing R really difficult.
Hates that.
Yeah, but Zeri especially, because usually when you don't have the point and clicks against you, you can kite everything. And that's why point and clicks are really important into Zeri. But on top of that, you have Syndra, which was one of the, like a couple months ago, back when Zeri was meta, you picked Syndra into it because you would just use your R on Zeri, then scatter the weak, and you would automatically stun because it's such a wide range of balls to just stun. So I really like the idea. I think the only problem I have with the draft is the not blind and then not Braum ban afterwards. The second rotation ban, you got rid of the Thresh. I think you had to get rid of the Braum. I think not into Braum is a must ban.
Okay, well, we're going to see whether or not there's going to be any changes and adaptations to that draft as we're going to be heading into the second game of this best of 5 series. Now, we're not going to do this right away because we have a little bit of a break so we can catch a breather, and then we'll be back with the caster desk.